Hi everyone, it's Alice at Welldoing. Today I am thrilled to be talking with Jonny Benjamin, who is the co-founder of the charity Beyond, and Louisa, who is the CEO. Thank you both so much for chatting with me. I don't know if we can start, Jonny, maybe you can tell a little bit about your story and how you came to found the charity with Neil.
Yeah, sure. Founded the charity in 2018, and founded it together with Neil, yeah, who is basically the guy that talked me out of taking my own life when I was 20, so quite a while ago. I yeah, I was really unwell at the time, and he was just a stranger at the time, and yeah, had this amazing conversation and changed things around for me. And then when I was in a better place, I decided to look for him and launched quite a public campaign to find him. Went viral, and anyway, he came forwards, and it was incredible. And we made a Channel 4 documentary together called The Stranger on the Bridge, and we started to work together. And it's been an amazing journey. And one of the things we did was set up the charity Beyond as a youth mental health organization to provide funding, because as we all know, there's no funding in particularly youth mental health. So yeah, that's why we set the organization up. It's been quite a journey. Not lots of ups, but also some challenges along the way, for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure. So what kind of support does the charity offer? So it's a grant giving charity, is that right?
Yeah, so initially we just were giving grants to mental health initiatives that were working with young people. So all sorts of different initiatives, from like small local initiatives focused on like art therapy, for example, but also big national mental health organizations like the Anna Freud Center we gave a grant to. So we were doing that for a while. Now we give grants to educational settings as well as initiatives, because again, there's such a massive need. Again, particularly, with the pandemic and everything that has been going on in the last 2 years, we are overwhelmed by, people contacting us asking for funding, as you can imagine. So it's great when we can do it, when we're able to give those funds, and we know the difference it makes. We get really great feedback, but there's just not enough money.
Yeah, sure.
Not enough money, unfortunately.
Yeah. At Welldoing, one of our main, really our main thing is to try and help people find the right therapist and the right coach. So we've seen a massive uptake from parents looking for people for their children and teens in the last couple of years, obviously. I don't know what you've learned specifically from your youth board or from people who took part in the festival last year about this time for teenagers during the pandemic.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a really hard time for everybody. It's been a really, really tough time for young people. Our youth board members range in age, so the youngest is 10 years old. And what they're telling us is really is aligned with all the statistics and the headlines that we're hearing. And it's just that loneliness and isolation was a really big factor. Increased anxiety, unfortunately, a very, very high uptick in self-harm instances. Referrals to CAMHS, we know on average went up by 134%, and that itself is very in line with what our young people are telling us as well, because they're reaching out more for support. I think one of the hardest things for young people who have existing mental health needs that they found during the pandemic was that they actually lost access to a lot of the services that they would have relied upon. So I think 30% of them lost access. That's huge, because they're people with existing mental health illnesses. But let's not forget, the pandemic impacted everybody in some kind of a way, and it also impacted parents' mental health. So it's been a really challenging couple of years best for everybody. But what you're saying about the rise that you're seeing in searches for support for children is actually why we did what we did. Once we had finished the festival, we realized that we had this, immense network of varied and local, across the nation though, providers that specialize in young people and provide support for mental health and wellbeing. So we actually created the UK's first online directory that's location based for educational settings to search for those providers so that they can actually bring them into schools, because we know that schools are sort of seeing this really, they're on their knees. There's actually no other way of saying it. They're on their knees because the school community is sort of bearing the brunt of the overwhelmingly long CAMHS waiting times and the increase in anxiety, depression, or eating disorders, or whatever it might be of their young people, because whilst they can't access support, they're still expected to go to school. So that's why we broadened the funding, and that's why we decided that we needed to provide some kind of financial support to schools so that they could actually bring in immediate mental health support for their young people.
Yeah, I mean, school is such an important space. Children and teenagers spend so much of their lives there. And
absolutely.
I mean, why is it so important to look after young people's mental health? Maybe you could explain a little bit about the stats there.
Yeah, I mean, 50% of mental health conditions are established by the age of 14. So, actually, and 75% by the age of 24. So those stats, they are accurate. And if we don't nurture and really encourage an emotionally literate young generation, then the number of mental health conditions is just going to rise. So information overload that young people are experiencing right now is just going to get worse. Technology is just going to keep advancing. Life for young people will continually be high octane, high pressured, and so if we're not nurturing their mental health and well-being from the moment that they enter the educational system, nursery, there's no reason why 2-year-olds can't be practicing mindfulness in an age-appropriate way. So it's really important that we help to provide the right tools and education that really builds those foundations properly, because we haven't been doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you held the first festival in 2021, is that right? So right in the middle of everything. And tell me a little bit about the next one, about where you're at with the planning, what's going to be different.
Yeah, it's really exciting just how everyone gets involved. There's a real community sort of feel to it. We did the first festival, and actually we're doing this festival with no budget. We've got no budget, but people are just so passionate about this subject, this area, that people are just like, they just want to get involved, they just want to be involved, they just want to try and make a small difference. So we are, well, actually, to be honest, it's really Louisa is really kind of leading the way. It's her idea. The festival was her idea. She came to Beyond and said, "Oh, I've got this idea," and we all went, "Yeah, amazing, let's go for it." And so her baby is it's so cool to be a part of, because, as I said, there's this sort of real community feel to the lead up to it, and all the planning, with all the different sessions, but then also on the day as well, there's this real sort of excitement. Well, there was definitely for 2021, I'm sure there will be 2022, this real excitement, this real buzz, like so much is happening at the same time in so many different places, and not just around the UK, but actually around the world. So we had schools tune in, like as far as Malaysia, Indonesia, it was incredible to know that young people and teachers and families were tuning in at the same time, and again the feedback was just great, that just something really small could have a huge shift, like just a 30-minute or 20-minute mindfulness session with young people that had never done it. Some of the feedback from the teachers was just great, and also knowing that the relationships continued for some of those educational settings, you know, the relationships with the mindfulness teacher or the yoga teacher or the art therapist or the counselor continued like long after the festival ended. And so again, we're hoping 2022, and we're encouraging that, you know, those relationships that might develop between a local school and a local mental health provider, they'll continue and flourish. And again, with some funding from us, hopefully that can work. So it's just it's a great thing to be part of. Really cool.
So you asked what would be different about the festival this year, and I think that it's going to be really exciting because there'll be some in-person components to it, and there's one in particular that we are so excited to announce, but you'll need to stay tuned for that. But yeah, I think because 2021 saw an entirely virtual festival, 90% of it will be virtual for this year, but there are some really, really exciting in-person live components. So yeah, stay tuned or sign up.
Wonderful. Well, on that note, I mean, how do people get involved? What do they need to do?
Yeah, so if you are a school and you want to take part, or you are somebody who works in mental health and wellbeing for young people, just head to www.nowandbeyond.org.uk and you can find all the information on there. Follow us on socials because we're always posting our updates and our announcements there first. And yeah, join the community and the revolution.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It's a really wonderful thing to be doing. And maybe all that passion is there because lots of people remember that time, those years of just, obviously there's a reputation of your adolescent years not being that easy, but maybe it doesn't have to be quite as hard. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think that's the one thing that, Jonny has brought together a community of people involved with Beyond who are all united by personal lived experience. And so we share those reflections together. And that really informs the content of the festival, actually. But yeah, I think growing up is tough. And yeah, let's just do what we can to make it less tough.
Well, I'm behind it too. Thank you so much, both. It's been a pleasure, and we will make sure to spread the word.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Any support, it's so grateful. Any.
Thank you both. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.